So if any of you worked with OIPT in the past, you know that there are several things that have been traditional in the Ohio Investment and Training Program. One being that we mostly focused on industry. It used to be the Ohio Industrial Training Program because we focused on not being the Rust Belt in trying to upgrade and to get into more advanced manufacturing and so forth. We've expanded that. We understand that there's more than just manufacturing that is part of the economic map of Ohio. There was a study done by Battelle and Battelle where they went around to the state, and if you look at the 12 economic regions of the state, that Battelle study was the backdrop for determining those 12 economic regions in which you are Region 4. Okay? So they found that there were some businesses that had affinities in certain regions and so forth, and that's how they drew the line. Okay? What was discovered in the study, of course, is, as you already know, is that there's more than just manufacturing that is part of the economy. And so our program, as we have evolved it, has gone more into touching on the industries that are creating high-paying jobs, creating high-skilled jobs, and are helping to move us into a global economy. Okay? Speaking of high-tech and... Okay, which button?
Page up or page down, upper right-hand corner.
Upper right-hand corner. Page up?
It's down to the
Okay, that didn't work. Okay. The idea is it aligns with the strategic plan. Of course, we take the, working with our partners, we are into cultivating top talent. And that just gives you kind of a synopsis of what has been said in the strategic plan that I'm sure you've seen many times. Focusing on the targeted industries is a big deal for us. Also, the internships and co-ops, if you're familiar with the Third Frontier internship program, it has now become a dual collaboration between the Third Frontier department within the Department of Development and the Workforce Investment Act. We get some WIA funds for that to implement that program. That program has been highly successful, and pleased to say that we bankrupt that program every year. We spend every dollar we have. The idea behind it is, if you are in one of these targeted industries, you can, through Ohio Needs Jobs, go in there, say, I want to have an intern with the following skill sets. They get matched with a resume that has those skill sets, and it's like playing Match.com. So you get to interview them as a company. You can receive up to $3,000 for wages for that person. It's a 50% reimbursement, so you have to pay them $6,000 in order to receive that full reimbursement. You have the option, of course, at the end of the internship to hire that person. They can come from your community colleges. They can come from your university. They can come from your career technical centers. So we've expanded that program to take in a broader group of folks, junior and senior level at your four-year university. And you can have the option then to hire those folks or not. Any questions on that? Have any of you taken advantage of the systems here? A couple in here? Three of you? Okay. Okay, this is taken right from the strategic plan. Basically, and there's a caveat on here too. If you've heard of the Ohio Skills Bank, and I know Jim and Dwayne are involved in the one for Region 4, we've expanded to not only covering these areas here, but if there's something that's been identified as an industry driver in the region through the Ohio Skills Bank, we can justify going into a company as long as they are for-profit, and also incentivize those companies to develop those top talent individuals. By the way, this is going to be posted on the website, so I see some people writing furiously, you know. Okay, that was just a duplicate of this slide. Okay, these are the types of trainings that we will cover. If you are familiar with the OIT program, we used to have 9 buckets or 9 categories of training that we fund. We've had to narrow that a bit because of limited funding. So we're focusing and we have a new one here too. We're focusing on these areas, these 5 areas of training for companies. The new one is pre-employment training. And this is basically if you have an individual, they could be a temporary employee that you have, that you hired through DECO or one of those temporary agencies, and you want to provide the training to them. If you hire that person, then you can receive reimbursement for the training of that individual. You have to provide the proof, of course, for that. For technical training, that can also include the maintenance trades. So we just kind of lumped that. That used to be a separate category. We've made it a sub. And of course, quality and lean, which can include a lot of these things that are non-manufacturing. This one right here, industry-specific safety training, gets into if your company has, it's in a particular industry, and I'll give you an example. We have some nuclear power plants down in Tyson that want to come in, and we want those people to have safety training. So we also recognize that person, if they receive that very specialized safety training, that's a very transferable skill to a life industry, right? This goes beyond the hazmat and the OSHA training that is just the cost of doing business and something you have to do anyway. Over and beyond that. We have another example. We have Mike sells potato chips in Dayton. It's wonderful. You can come in on Route 4 sometimes and and chips. And I actually got a bag of the chips that were made off the line. The bag is still warm. That's wonderful. But anyway, they have what's called an open vat. It's basically a huge oil vat that they have to have a very specific fire extinguisher training. You want them to have that fire extinguisher training because it's not only portable, but it's essential for that job to have that training for those individuals. And so we did fund that. First-time supervisors can be people that have been in that position 1 year or less, or you are thinking of queuing that person up. Like let's say, and Jim focused on this earlier about the person who's into the doing out there on the floor. He's he or she is a great production worker, but you know that when you promote this person into the position that his or her skill set is not working with people, and you need to provide that training to make them successful, we can cover that training. Okay? It does not mean that you couldn't include long-time supervisors in this. You would only get credit for those people who are first-time supervisors. Any questions on that?
Yeah. So is this training grant, is this only for companies in the targeted industries, or those 2 different things?
You mean the 2 different? It's only for the ones that are in the targeted industry.
Okay.
So, do you have an example of something that you think goes outside that?
Well, we manufacture pallets and crates.
Okay.
So technical training is something we've been talking a lot about and how to get that. So kind of looking down the list of targeted industries, I wouldn't think our business fit into that.
Is there anything that you're doing to deal with polymers or anything like that in producing these crates, or is there anything that you're doing that's high-tech?
No, basically we're wood products.
Okay.
We're not going to try to become more technical, more advanced with manufacturing by doing.
Have you purchased any equipment that you think puts you into that category?
Oh, we're always running equipment. Yes, sometimes it's a difficult process to automate. So I can talk to somebody later on or afterwards.
Okay, because it could very well fit into that. Okay. We try to make them broad enough that we don't try to exclude people. There may be some other things that you see here that may give some more definition to that. Okay. And again, and I'll address this in a couple minutes. Well, I'll address it here. One of the things that we're doing for companies that we understand that you guys are in a cash crunch when it comes to training. We want to encourage training. Jim covered that, and Leanne covered that very well about how training during these times is one of your greatest tools to